Hey everyone, welcome to another Airbrush Asylum video. In this Airbrush Insight video, we're going to take a look at the Sagola XTECH 300 double action gravity feed airbrush. Alright, so you can see here it comes in a nice package. On the back we've got all of the other Sagola airbrushes listed, which is pretty cool. You see all their specs, the needle sizes and everything. So we're going to take this sleeve off and reveal the airbrush. So there it is. Okay, so it's a gravity feed airbrush. Just going to lift that case, pull that out. So you can see there, I'll just see if I can get a bit of a close-up. Okay, so you also get a little eyedropper in the pack. So handy if you want to add just small amounts of paint. You get another adapter to connect to the base of your airbrush, and then this part can go to a hose. And we also get the tool here to remove the front nozzle when you're replacing your nozzle and your head assemblies. Alright, so that all comes in the box. Let's have a look underneath here. You also get handy instruction book, which is pretty good. Shows you all the parts, all the specs, also talks a little bit about compressors and everything. Also got your warranty card in there, so it's a pretty handy little thing to throw in there, which is good. So that's what you get in the box. Now we're going to hook up the airbrush and fire it up. Okay, so let's have another quick look at this. So you can see it's got the nice red handle, the XTECH 300. One thing I do like is the rubber cap here, the protector cap, which is pretty cool. You've got a nice size gravity pot, and you've got a crown cap, little red anodized crown cap. I'll be testing it with that first, and then I'll also remove the crown cap and just spray with the nozzle, with the needle exposed. And the trigger action seems pretty smooth. So there isn't a great deal of room between the trigger and the cup, but definitely enough for the way I airbrush. If you were to put your finger over, like some other artists do, that may be a bit of an issue, because you are, the angle of that is hitting with the cup. But apart from that, it feels really smooth. So let's go hook it up and get some paint in there and give it a go. I'm just going to wind that on. Oh. Plug that in. So we're running at about 30 psi roughly, between 25 and 30. I'm going to use just a bit of water-based black paint. So just tip that straight in there. And fire her up. Okay, we are ready to go. So first thing, I'll just do a few lines. So straight out of the box. So I haven't used this at all. They've just sent me a brand new one to test. So I thought, perfect way to do that is just to unbox it and put it through its paces. You can see I'll probably either turn the pressure up or thin the paint out a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of sort of paint crackling, but that could be because it's brand new. So I'll just spray this out. Sometimes you need to wear them in a little bit. So it's reasonably responsive on the trigger, which is good. Alright, I'm going to now unscrew the air cap and have a play around with that. So with the needle exposed, and see how that runs. that seems to be already running a lot nicer. Okay. Okay, so I've got some black water-based paint in there. Gonna spray out. So pretty nice control. So I've thinned the paint out quite a bit. It seems to be running nice and smooth. So I think you'd want to run this at a, if you're going to run it at a lower pressure, you definitely want to thin the paint out more with this particular airbrush, just to get that performance and to be able to get that real fine detail. I will be playing around with doing some artwork with this particular brand of airbrushes. I've got a few to test, so let's turn that pressure up a little bit. Okay, so what we want to do now is I'm going to remove the front crown cap. We'll give that a go. So just unscrew this and see how it paints without that. Pick off a little bit of the tip drying. So we'll do some broad sprays first. So getting reasonable coverage is good. Remember, I have thinned out the paint and I've also turned up the pressure, so it's probably a bit more like 40 psi now. Just try and do some fine detail. Do some fine dots, some larger ones. Go do some lines. The trigger feels nice and comfortable, the action is smooth. I believe these are sort of at mid pricing. I don't know the exact pricing as yet, but I'm pretty sure they're, from what they've told me, they're sort of mid-range pricing. So they definitely feel like a pretty good quality brush if it's going to come in at that sort of price range. So the on-off seems to be going pretty well. So nice double action. Do some sort of dots going from from small to large. Do some fine ones here, see how fine we can go. So you can definitely get some fine detail out of it. It is nicer to use with the air cap off. You just got to be careful, just like any other airbrush that you would remove the air cap on. You got to be careful that you do not drop it. Getting a little bit of tip dry now, but like I said, I've thinned the paint out quite a bit, so not really tip drying that much, which is good. Getting a bit of a spotted line So I'm wondering if there is a bit of paint build up. Just blast that out. Hook it back up. And yeah, that seems to have fixed it. Let's take a closer look at the Sagola XTECH 300 gravity feed airbrush. So it's got a nice red anodized handle with the XTECH 300 engraved in it. The Sagola logo. We've got a nice rubber protector cap which we're going to remove. Take off the paint cup lid. Let's unscrew the handle. Loosen and remove the locking nut. Pull out the needle. Unscrew the rocker assembly. You can see the spring there as well. Got that part of the rocker assembly. Now the trigger can be removed. Oh. And we're just going to get our tweezers and pull out. Oh, that might just fall out actually. There we go. That part of the rocker assembly. So sometimes on other brands of airbrushes, this part here can be attached to that part of the rocker assembly, but in this particular case on the Sagola brushes, they're loose. Alright. Now we unscrew the air cap, that sort of crown cap. We'll just take off the head assembly. So we'll go grab our tool that comes with the airbrush and unscrew that, and that will expose our nozzle. As you can see here, it's a 0.3 mil, but it's a large brass nozzle, and it's got the Teflon seal at the end, and then you can see the air holes at the front. Alright. Last but not least, we'll remove the plunger assembly. So get our tweezers in there and unscrew that. Like so. Now when you unscrew it, be careful. That spring wants to jump out. Okay? When you hear people talking about soft springs, that's the part they replace. So we're actually a distributor for the Drew Blair soft springs. And they do make a difference to a lot of different airbrushes. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it all back together again. So first we'll start with the plunger assembly, reinsert that, put the spring in. Now this is the tricky part. Need to get this little piece, line it up, press it all the way down. Until we can thread it in, and it'll get to a point where it won't go any further like that, and then we can remove the tweezers. You can see there it's locked in nicely. Now we'll get the nozzle, fit that back on, screw on the head assembly. We're going to tighten that. So just make it snug. You don't want to over tighten things, especially like the little, some of the other nozzles on different brushes have a thread on them. You want to be careful not to over tighten them because you can actually cross thread it or snap the thread. Okay, if that does happen to you, go to a watchmaker. They generally have the tools to remove the thread, and then you can buy yourself a new nozzle. So just reattach that crown cap, the trigger here. You can see the notch that goes towards the back of the airbrush, and the bar there, we'll just run that sideways and then twist it so that we can get it in. You can see we've fitted the plunger assembly correctly, so that's moving up and down, which is great. Now we're going to attach this little piece, so we're going to drop that in there. So pick that up, again twist it, and It needs to lean up against there. Then we get the rest of the rocker assembly. You can see the shape of that. It only goes one way, so I just sit it in, turn it until it slides through. Then get your spring, fit that back on. Screw this part back on to secure that entire rocker assembly. Then the locking nut, and then we can put the needle back through. Now before I do that, we've cleaned this airbrush, so what you need to do is to clean them. Once you've finished using whatever product you're using, so if it's, in this case it was water-based paint, so we ran, first and foremost what we did was the remaining paint, we tipped that back into our jar or our cup, bottle, whatever you're storing it in, and then we cleaned this, like rinsed that out with water. Once you might want to get your finger in there too to get all the paint off the edges, or you can use a rag or a paper towel or something like that. Once we've done that, then we also flush through the back here. So that's really important. A lot of people don't do that, so you need to flush through the back, and that makes sure that the airbrush is completely clean. And a good way to test it is to insert the needle, push it all the way to the end and pull it out, and just wipe it on your skin, and you can see that's nice and clean. So if there was still paint in there, you would get whatever color it is would just appear. All right. When you reinsert the needle, don't sort of jam it in, just nice and firm, and then tighten up the locking nut. And then when you pull back, make sure that that needle pulls back when you pull back on your trigger. If that's loose, then you won't get any paint coming out, because that needle allows the paint to come out where that air cap is. So if that's not tight, you will not get any paint coming through. All right, and reattach your handle like that. Put the air cap back on, protector cap, and there you have it. The XTECH 300 all pulled apart and put back together. Until next time, feel free to check out any of our other videos, and thanks again for watching. We do really appreciate it. In the meantime, if you haven't already, feel free to hit subscribe. We have plenty of step-by-step tutorials, quick tips, airbrush insights, showcase, live streams, and much more. You can also visit our website at airbrushasylum.com.au. Thanks for watching.